But back to Martinelli a little bit. When I was talking about indecision earlier, I was really thinking about him the most. And I think Perry's point about going on the outside is a valid one. I think he's starting to think about his next action too much, right? And he's as quick as you like, just run his legs off. I mean, there was a point in the game when Ashley Young, I think he's 38, 39 years of age, he was conning it. He was thinking, please don't pass him, please don't pass him. So he was like showing out there to stop that entry pass in. We should have just done it anyway and just keep running at him and keep running at him. And we started to overthink those actions a bit. And I'm hopeful we find him again because he's 23, he does all the things right, but he's a little bit indecisive in the critical moments. You can hear the murmurings around him. You can hear it. He's not stupid and he's starting to think. And he is not a thinker. He's a fast athlete that does things on instinct and he's stopped being instinctive.
But then that'll help with what we talk about our clunkiness in the passing. There's loads of times when we in switching play and whoever the midfield players, they'll take 2, 3, 4 touches. When he should be, you don't see a lot of players, especially in the wide areas, actually screaming at the fullback or screaming at their own midfield player. Get it out to me. Because as it comes across, if you get it and then you ping it out in the second touch, then he's got that different angle and that little bit of space. Yeah. And if you, as a wide player, I don't care if you take on the fullback 5 times and he tackles you 4. I don't care because there'll be the 5th or the 6th time where all of a sudden then you go past 1v1, you get your cross in or you get your shot in. Nobody cares that you've been tackled 4 times beforehand. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, again, all those little bits to get it out and just maybe be a bit more vocal. You know, maybe a bit more demanding and say, are you going to give... I'm not going to swear, obviously. Are you going to give me the ball in a minute? It's one of those ones.
Yeah, I think one player who's really good at that is Jorginho. I remember, I think it was the Newcastle game last season where Saka wasn't making those runs I mentioned before. And he's actually shouted to Saka, make those runs, because I'll play the ball.
Yeah.
And it's all about just taking a chance, I think. There's not enough, I guess, willingness to just see what happens. Who cares about the result? Just have a shot, make a pass. I think that's what you really want to see.
So then Raheem Sterling, we're going to move on to him. Perry, you mentioned him earlier. Why did we not see him again, especially when we needed a goal and he has 123 of them in the Premier League?
Yeah, I must admit that was a surprise. When I think it was a surprise when we actually signed him, obviously, because it obviously weren't going well at Chelsea, because obviously Maresca wants to go with the younger players and like he's on big wages. And when we got him, I thought, because Mikel knows him from obviously Man City times, and he's not at the level that he was at Man City. You know, we all know that. But on the bench wise, you think, well, Reece Nelson goes and we get Raheem Sterling. I'd rather have Raheem Sterling because of his quality that he has. So it was. I must admit, I thought it was a surprise that he didn't come on. I would have actually thought, yeah, he's got that, sort of, he's like an annoying bee, isn't he? Like he buzzes around everywhere, and he's style exactly, and he's quick feet.
He's energetic.
Yeah, that was what I was looking for. Actually, he got there in the end, didn't I? That was right. Yeah,
exactly. You're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, just
said it for you.
Energetic. Thanks. Yeah, cheers. Yeah, it's what. And then, even if you, when I was sub quite a few times, it was nuisance value. Basically, you see the iPads on the touchline, and they go there and they say, well, just tell me what you want me to do when we've got the ball. We haven't got the ball for set pieces. And George Graham used to say, when you make runs, he used to actually say, just go on and be a nuisance. Just go on and run around and be a nuisance. And, if you're buzzing, then that energy then can go on to your players. Mm-hmm. And then there wasn't, for our point of view, there wasn't enough mayhem, especially in that last 15 minutes. When you're thinking, right, just over the box, doesn't matter, just get it in the wide areas, put crosses in, it's going to be cleared. But even watching it, there wasn't that mayhem that you were creating, thinking we're going to actually create a chance for them. It's something that's going to drop down, not necessarily from something that's very easy on the eye. Do you know what I mean? Just score an ugly goal. And we didn't create, there wasn't that mayhem.
I think Arsenal looked like a really well-coached team.
Yeah.
You can see it. With every detail is covered. But sometimes I look at them and think, don't be afraid to give away the ball. Because we are also good at winning it back. And we can win it back in an advantageous area if we're prepared to give it away.
You've got the minders at the back. You've got Saliba and Gabriel. You've got the minders.
Don't be afraid to give it away. You're going to get it back. And when you get it back, they won't be organised. Because the first thing you do when you win it, apart from a Sean Dyche team, Perry knows, you start to expand a little bit, don't you? You start to expand a little bit. As soon as you win it, I've got to now get into attacking shape, which is not as compact as your defensive shape. that's the time you can counter-press and get it and go through them. So I think we were too precise, too thoughtful, maybe not instinctive enough.
I feel like you wanted to say something.
No,
you were like
it's all good.
hesitating.
I must admit, when he made the substitutions and he left Jesus and Havertz on, when you think, right, we're going to go like 4-2-4, then we're going to have the two set. But then what happened was Jesus stayed up front and then Havertz then came into the 10 and dropped a little bit deeper, where I was actually
Jesus
thinking...
stay up front?
well, you know what I mean? But he was the
I know what you mean, I know
main
what you
centre
mean.
forward,
Yeah.
and Havertz coming, and I was thinking, actually, no, go and play side by side. Do you know what I mean? And then, but as I say, maybe it is a bit too, and we're probably being a bit basic, but Jordan Pickford didn't, not I can remember, he didn't really have a save to make in that last 15 minutes. He made a brilliant one, obviously, from Bukayo Saka's volley, which down like a big left hand just to get it. But other than that, we didn't put him and their back five, back six, whatever it was, under enough pressure. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't that, so that complete carnage that sometimes you've got to cause.
Organised chaos
Yeah.
in a way. And I think when you are in those moments, I'm also in the stadium and we have the ball, say, just outside the box, just have a shot.
Yeah.
Like, who cares if it actually gets blocked? Just have an attempt. I think those are the moments where, as Clive said, you're almost being too thoughtful. You can see they're coached well, but in those moments, you don't need your coaching. Just go off what you think straight away. And I think that's where, I guess, you separate yourselves as well. Liverpool are very good at being just, okay, I see an opportunity, I'm going to take it. Who cares what happens? I don't see that enough from Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's like a heavyweight boxer. 12 rounds, and you're losing on points. The last round, just come up, you're swinging haymakers, uppercut.
Straight
Exactly,
knockout.
just like, don't you? You're just swinging everything, and you hope that one lands. But as you said, Liverpool are very good at that mayhem. I know they've been a bit more organised under Arne Slot, but when they're chasing games, they're very good at going, right, we're committing 4 or 5 forward. Do you know what I mean? And we're going to get it forward that little bit quicker.
What are you winning with, an uppercut? I mean,
Nice haymaker, definitely a haymaker. Without any shame, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big roundhouse haymaker. There you go.
okay, back to football. So obviously, if Arteta doesn't rate Sterling, do we need to find another body to replace him in January?
Well, the way I look at it, I said to you earlier on, we have 6 forwards, right? And Sterling's one of those forwards in our group. And according to many Arsenal fans, it's one of those forwards which is playing really, really well, and the rest are a little bit below their best, right? And in Sterling, he's not even being used. So you look at that attacking group, and we have to refine a few to start giving some proper output. And people are going to be thinking, okay, January's coming. Do we need to add one to that group? And it's a debate. And sometimes a new energy coming in makes you look at yourself differently, look at your role differently, and maybe bring some of that instinct back. I think it's a debate. I would like to see it. I'm not going to say what that attacker is, but Perry's been in squads before. When a new player arrives, it can change the dynamic. But sometimes it changes the dynamic.
Don't play in your position.
Yeah, exactly. When a new player turns up, when a new player turns up, another quick winger.
With a long throw. I don't really do that.
But yeah, there is that side. But that's what I feel. I feel we need that. I really do, just to give them a boost in those areas and allow people to refine their attacking focus.
Yeah, that's what Trossard brought 2 years ago in the first title run, and I think what he brought in that time was just, again, someone who would try things. He'd go on the outside, he'd go on the inside, very good off both feet, technical, and he just brought a freshness, I think, to that front line where he wasn't only fixed to that left wing spot, but there were times where he'd play through the middle. I think that 4-4-2 that Perry mentioned earlier really worked well when it was Trossard and Havertz, actually. So that's something that maybe surprised me a little bit. He didn't revert to that. He hasn't gone back to that since Ødegaard's been back in the team. Understandably, because I wouldn't start with that. But as a plan B, I think it can be very useful in the future, especially because January is such a difficult market to actually navigate.
Yeah, so again, it's the money in January. Like if a player's worth 60 million, in January it's 80, isn't it? And as an Arsenal fan, I mean, everybody, like the centre forward, Kaijin always keeps coming and being asked. And then if you ain't going to get a centre forward for that quality, unfortunately not in January. I know Isaac is the one that stands out, but he ain't going in January. Newcastle not let him go just in case they can get into a European football game. He might be the option at the end of the season. But I agree. I think it can be freshened up. You just with 1 or 2 new faces. Do you know what I mean? They give you that little bit of spark in training as well. You know, they're eager to take on like different information. And let's be honest, we're all fans. It excites the fan. If you get a couple of new faces that coming in, you're like, okay, yeah, I don't think we can be seen not to be doing anything.
I agree.
Because then it's like, come on, we've got to kick on here. We all know as Arsenal fans, we've got to be winning the Premier League or the Champions League this season. Do you know what I mean? Just to like quell the noise of the outside down a little bit. So so it's something's got to happen in January, definitely.
The one thing in my mind though is, what does Mikel Arteta actually want from, say, a number 9? He's only bought one, which was Jesus, because he bought Havertz as a midfielder and then found out 6 months in, oh, he's actually quite good up front. So I'm starting to, not question's the wrong way to put it, but I think, okay, if Mikel Arteta wants a striker, what does that striker look like, especially in January? I'm not too sure, if I'm being totally honest.